Welcome to part 2 of our Scrap Buster Mess Make tags. That is a mouthful. Today we are going to decorate some, leave some the way that we had them, and to give you some options. So if you want to make some with me or just learn how to, then stick around. I'm Ingrid and I am so glad that you're here with me today. Okay, I am back and with chipped nails, no less, but that's what happens. This is a cautionary tale. When you have a family that you have to cook and clean for, this is what happens. So anyways, the show must go on and we're going to get started. Now, you can see here all of my pieces have buckled. So what I'm going to do is grab an iron and I'm going to iron them down. Of course, I cannot find my parchment paper. It's somewhere around here. I know I just organized it. So I'm just going to put down a towel and then just a piece of cardstock. Normally I'd use baking paper to do that. So I'm just gonna lay that down. I'm going to face them downward since they're crinkled kind of up. And then I'll do one on each. Now, to avoid this, I could have laid some, once they were like mostly dry, I could have laid, well, actually what I would have done is let them dry completely. Then the next day, put heavy objects on top of them and let them sit for maybe a day or two. And that would have flattened them out. This one's very warped. And that's the thing when you're using a wet glue is you are going to get warping. That's why something like Fabri-Tac or Fabrifix or whatever it's called is really great because it doesn't allow your pages to warp, but it's a mess and it takes off my polish, so I don't like it for that reason. I first want to apologize for the noise. Someone has the audacity to be cutting their lawn while I'm trying to record a very serious video. Okay, so while I was off air and the tags were cooling down, I went ahead and put a large book on top of them so that they would flatten out and cool off. So now I'm going to go through and just cut off the excess paper that you see. And you have, several ways you can do this. You can just tear it off like that and most of it will work. You can even leave some of these edges sticking out on the outside. You can take a ruler and where's my ruler? You can take a ruler and tear off the edges. That goes a little faster. Or you can take your scissors or a trimmer and cut off the edge. So I think I'm going to do some, I like some of the edges being raw and I like some of the edges being straight. So I'm just going to go through and kind of just haphazardly pick some to do. Also, when you get little offshoots like this that are kind of cute on their own, I'm going to save this to the side. So my scraps are making more scraps. Little pieces like this I'll probably get rid of, but I'm going to leave them to the side for now until we are done with cutting these out. We've got all of our pieces cut out, and now we are going to cut some notches out. So I normally have a template. I don't think I have one here right now, so let's make one. I'm just taking a piece of a cardboard box, and I'm going to just cut off like the pieces that are kind of thick. And I'm going to try and keep this somewhat square. And I'm going to actually make 2 different templates. So these are going to be my edges. So if I want it to be, if I want my tag, oops. If I want my tag to be more like this, I'm gonna cut, so you could imagine this would have been here. So I'm gonna cut more at an angle and more into the middle. Then I could also do something like this, where I'm cutting even more, less angle, but more into the middle. So it's up to you how you want to do it. I'm just going to grab one, and then I'm going to take that one so that I know not to do the same thing. And I think I want this one kind of like this. Okay. So now I have 2 edges, and you can make as many as you want. You can make more edges here, you can round them, whatever. And so all I'm gonna do is now I line up my papers, and so I'm gonna line up the top of this to the side of this, and I'm going to cut. And then to do the other side, I just flip it over. I do the same thing, I line it up, oops. And I cut it out. And so you can see here, it is definitely not as angled. And then I'm going to do another one with this one. And of course, you don't have to do this. You can also just eyeball it and cut it however you want. You can be precise and make measurements and cut them to be exact. And so you can see the difference here in the cuts on the edges. So feel free to do whichever you like. You can also, like I said, you can just let's see. If I was working with something that was, let's see, not as hard, I could bend it in the middle so it's not completely bent, and then just cut it out. So that's another alternative for you, but you are going to bend your paper doing that. And then you could just, and then do what I said. I love that edge, so I think I'm going to cut this. You could cut it, flip it, and then you have a tag like that. So it's up to you, however you want to do them. The hardest part about this is just figuring out which one you want to use. So here I'm looking at this, and my treble clef is going top to bottom. This is upside down, this is sideways. So I could even make the tag like this. I could do this. So I can imagine it like that. I can imagine it. I think this is the way that here I have to sacrifice either the treble clef or the bumblebee, and goodbye clef. And I'm going to leave a couple of these just square. That's another option for you. Now with these little offshoots, you can actually use them if you wanted to. Like, let's say here I could glue little corners down. So again, scraps make scraps, and use everything that you have on your desk. The next step that we're going to take is we're going to decide if we're going to, or how far we're going to decorate them. I'll give you a couple different examples of how you can leave these decorated. You can add as much embellishment, so you could add things like ribbons, fabrics, thread. You can sew around it. You can add ephemera to it. I mean, you can go all out. You can paint, you know, add splatters, add distressing. You can do as much as you want. Or you can go the other route and kind of leave it more minimalistic, where you are literally just having blanks that are done, so the base is done, and then you are grabbing the base, and when you're working on your project, then you can build it so that it matches your project. So we'll do a few of each. I think I'm going to start by grabbing some of these and running them over to the sewing machine. When I begin sewing, I'm going to decide where I want. I like tails for the thread. So I'm going to, in this case, start the sewing up at the top. And then, and in this case, I would knot it. Where am I? But you don't have to, since it's just paper. But I'm gonna go ahead and remove it, cut off some tails, and then you can cut these as long as you want. I also chose to do a brown thread, but my bobbin stayed white, and I'm okay with that when it's with paper. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side, so I'm gonna leave tails on both ends. When it comes to sewing on paper, you can be as deliberate as you want. So you can have completely straight lines. I mean, I don't think these are completely straight, but you know what I mean. Or you can do them jagged edges, which I really like the look of that. So on the next one, I'll do that, but I'm gonna switch between straight edges as well as zigzag lines. Maybe we'll add a little embellishment, like a little design at the bottom of one. This one would actually look cute if it had a little design on the bottom. Let's see what designs we have. So I've never done this design before, but we're gonna see how it looks. I didn't even know I had it. And I wasn't paying attention, so I got off camera. So hopefully I can get this. I don't know what it's doing. So let's so because I messed up the design that it was supposed to be doing, because I was looking at on this side of the screen, I ended up making a mess. So I just let it make a mess. I just kept switching it around. And then with the tails, you can leave as many tails as you want. Okay, I am done. I ended up having to stop here because my bobbin ran out. So I'll show you. I did some decorative stitching, then some straight stitching, and then here I was kind of making the machine go wobbly so that it wouldn't give me straight lines. And normally I would have probably added more. This one has some decorative straight, decorative straight. This has mainly straight with just a little bit of zigzag at the bottom. This one, I started doing that design that I couldn't figure out, but I'm going to leave it. I think it's fine. This one just has 2 straight lines down the edge. So now I think I have 8, no, maybe I have more than 8. So I have 4, 5, 6. Okay, I think I have 10. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I'm going to kind of play around with some of them. I'm going to grab this one first, just because it was sitting on top. And on this one, I'm going to take some of the papers that I have stamped. Maybe I will cut this off. Then I like the red here. I also liked this big number. Down here. I think I don't love that, but what I could do is grab some music paper. I'm going to staple this. Give it another staple. Pull this little piece off. And I think I like that. So I don't know if you can tell here, but this kind of makes it look like it's part of the collage. So let's add a little bit of glue and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Because we're just using paper elements here, the stamped items and the music, oops, melt into the paper. It looks like it's part of the collage. And maybe I would leave this like this so that it wasn't glued down as much. And so this is, you could leave it like this. Well, you could leave it like this with nothing on it, or you can go the next step and then add some just flat elements to it. Now let's take it up a notch. Let's grab this. I'm going to add some flat elements. I'm also going to add some 3D elements. I'm going to take some of this thread. I'm just pulling some The thing is that when you start embellishing them more and more, it's going to start taking on a design, and so it might not go with the project that you need it to go with. Okay, since I used blue here, I was trying to find my blue labels. Label that. I'm going to also grab one of these images. We're going to grab this guy right here. I'm going to start building this. So I don't know if that will make it. I'm not worrying about this being glued down. I kind of just wanted it straighter. I do have this little piece right here that's blue as well, so I'm just going to kind of cut it out. So even though I'm adding some color here, I am keeping it fairly neutral. Now, if you don't want your staples sticking out through the back, then you definitely don't have to staple it down. You can, you know, just glue it. And I'm thinking about adding maybe this and another. I'm going to distress this just a tad. Nope. I'm going to add it here. And then I'm going to tear this so that it looks a little more weathered. Okay. I think also it would have these little brads. Oops. So I'm going to add those. Actually, I was going to add them on top, but I'm thinking maybe on the bottom they would look cute. Down here. And then I was thinking about adding a little bit of some kind of trim. This little remnant of fabric. Tear it. We're going to just stick that down here. I'm going to take just a pokey tool and I'm going to guesstimate just watch your fingers. And that was definitely for myself. Watch my fingers. I'm just going to stick that through. I might have to cut the back a little bit because this little piece is going to stick out. And then I will do the same on this side. And personally, I would not cover up the back yet until you know what you're going to use it for. Because if you're going to glue this down directly to if you're going to glue this down directly to your page, it doesn't need to be covered in the back. I think we will add an eyelet. And since we're working with gold here, I'm going to grab a gold colored eyelet. And I always do this wrong. I think it's like that. That was not it. It's the other way. I need to write myself a note on this thing so that I remember. And it makes more sense this way because it has to flatten the back. So I smushed it, but I'm okay with that. Like, I think that actually looks really cool. And let's see. I'm going to grab one of these little rusty pieces that I've made, and I'm just scraping some of the rust off with a paper towel. Whenever I've rusted in the past, for the most part, I leave a lot of rust on it. And I'm starting to, once it rusts, rinse it off so I don't have so much rust. Ugh. Oh my goodness. we go. This doesn't want to fit, but I think it's enough. And now we can add some ribbons or lace or anything else that you want at the top. I haven't figured out this glue yet, so I'm not sure how much to squeeze out. Okay, let's see. I think for the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this brush corduroy and then just add some parts. I'm also going to add another staple here to hold this thread. And then I'm going to grab a black paint. A dark blue would look really cool here. Actually, let me see if I can find it. I have this really dark blue. It's a Prussian blue. Actually, one of my favorite colors. And just using what's up on the lid. I'm just gonna scrape my finger along the edges. And you can go as much or as little as you want. Okay, I think that's going to be it for this tag. And I'm going to go ahead and just let it dry. But just to go over it again, so we have our tags. So we have the 3 kind of examples here. So we can leave it the way that it is with no stitching, no anything, or you can leave it, you can do it like this where you just stitch on it. And then the next one is where you're going to add some flat elements, which are going to be stamped items or ephemera. And then the third one is where we're going to add more 3-dimensional. And of course, there's intermediate steps in between these two and between these two that you can do, but this kind of gives you an idea of kind of what you can do. My brain always is going to go here, although this is really nice because if I had, let's say, a photo, let's say I'm working on this album or this journal. It's so funny because I started off in scrapbooking, and so everything was an album. And you would think that by now I could stop saying that, but I cannot. Just cutting down the picture some. So now if I wanted to add this photo here, then I could, and I can still embellish more on the back. I could add a little tag there. Let's give you an idea. A little tag there. I can add some remnants. I can keep building it up. And so then the base is done, and then I can keep building it up. This is completely a blank slate, so I can go from scratch here and kind of do the same thing. and not be dictated by what's in the back. So for example, on this one, when I put this photo down, it covered a lot of the 5, and then this side is up. So you might not want to do that. You might want to use that. You might want to take another photo, like something like this that's thinner, and put that here. And so you can still get pieces of your ephemera showing through. And so it's really up to you. But we'll go ahead and decorate some more. I'm going to let this dry, and we'll be right back. Every time I film one of these videos where there's a fast forward mode, I think of the cooking shows where they're cooking and they're like, through the magic of television, I just cooked this in 5 seconds. So this took me a lot longer, but to make the video a little shorter, then I went ahead and fast forwarded it 5 times the speed. At the end of the video, I am going to do a little flip through of each of the tags that you're seeing me make here, and I'll give you a little overview over each one. If you would like the video slowed down and a more in-depth process of what I was thinking and how I put things together, if that's something that you're interested in, leave me a comment down below. In the meantime, go ahead and enjoy the process, and I'll see you in just a moment. The first few tags that we're going to flip through are the ones that I left as is. I didn't cut them into tags and I didn't add anything, no stitching or anything. I absolutely love this one with my little handwriting bit at the bottom. I definitely encourage you to do that if you can. Now on this one, I went to the next step and I did add some stitching, but I didn't decorate it any further. I do love the way that this one turned out with the circle embellishment and the tag at the bottom, that stitching that I messed up, but it just adds to the grunginess of the tag and the photo, and I absolutely adore it. This one then on the other spectrum is a little more dainty. It's got a little bow up at the top and some lace, and I think it matches the theme. Of course, since this one is the one that's the most embellished, and like I told you before, my brain goes to uber embellished, extra clusters, more texture, then this is definitely my favorite. But I could totally see not doing something like this because it is going to be specific for a specific type of journal. It might not fit in every type of journal. Whereas when you have something more simple like this, you can still build on it and make it fit the journal that you're working with. I decided to take this photo and instead of using it as a square, cut it out as a cameo. And then I layered some fabric underneath it and added a simple bow with some seam binding, and I just stapled it on the top, and I think it's so sweet and easy and it looks really polished. I am really loving the stamped letters. And then you offset that with the lace, and it's that grunge and lace, and it really is one of my favorite looks. I love the layers on it, and I'm wondering of the tags, which one is your favorite? Also, I'd like to know, what is your favorite type of stitching? Do you like the zigzag, or do you like the straight stitch, or do you like it when it's mixed? Now, probably the one that's closest to my heart of all the tags is this one. It's just so girly and sweet, and I love the edge that I made there with the book page, and it looks like fringe fabric. I love this one. I love the bow on the top with the embroidery thread, and I can definitely see myself using this. I actually think this would be great for the cover of a journal. I really love this project, and I hope that you do as well. I hope that you are enjoying this Scrap Buster series where we are mass making pieces using our scraps and using what we have on our desk to make beauties. I hope that this inspires you today and that you go and create something beautiful. And as always, if you haven't been told, you are loved beyond measure. See you soon. Love you. Bye.